You're listening to the Actors Resource Podcast with Aaliyah Lay, a podcast for actors and improvisers, with interviews from entertainment industry experts.
Today we have Max Muscato, who is an American singer-songwriter, guitarist, producer, and philanthropist. As a rock artist, he brings electrifying performances to every show. Over the last several years, Max has gained an extensive following and has toured and opened for Our Lady Peace, Citizen Cope, Theory of a Deadman, Aaron Carter, Finger 11, Ripe, the Allman Betts Band, and more. He is currently working on his next singles, Valarie and Toxic Poison, due out in 2022. In addition to his music career, Max is also the founder of Rock Autism Music Festival and the creator-writer of the new TV show Setlist. The show is the truest depiction of their family dynamic while revealing the grind it takes to make it in the music industry. Max's powerful songs, written about his brother's struggle with autism and addiction, is a deep-rooted catalyst that drives his passion and career. Proceeds from his festival fund Rock Autism programs for individuals with autism, connecting them to a career in music and film. So we have Mr. Max Muscato.
Honestly, if I didn't know myself, that bio was pretty awesome, so I got to give credit to my manager for writing that up. It sounded great.
Woo woo! Shout out to your manager. Nice.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, cool. So Max, that is pretty impressive. Like, let's just start from the beginning. Are you old? You have a brother who has autism?
I do. His name is Sonny, and he's older than me. He's 33. I'm 31. Okay. So, for the longest time, when he was diagnosed with autism at a young age, but he was misdiagnosed for years because at the time, in the early 90s, not much was known, so he kept on getting passed around by professionals, hospitals, and doctors, and eventually autism became the overall diagnosis of him with a couple other tangents within the umbrella of what autism is. Right,
because there's a huge spectrum of autism in terms of, like a spectrum. Yeah. So he's older than you by 2 years. Is that correct?
Yep.
And so when did you start getting this idea to create the awareness for autism as well as incorporating it specifically for music?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm very honest about this subject. So it didn't happen until within the last 3 to 4 years that I really took a turn in my life with understanding what he went through and what families go through. Because growing up, I wasn't really the best brother. I was a jerk to him, and I didn't really understand, and I felt embarrassed all the time. I didn't want to go places with him, and it got to me with my own insecurities. But then around 24, 25 years old is when I really started to see how hard it was for my father and how hard it is for other families too, because I started to have my own struggle in life as well with, life is hard sometimes. So after 18 years old, a lot of these programs, they kind of just drop off for people with disability, and you kind of get lost in the system and you fall through the cracks. Now, my brother, he was in the system for a long time, and he used to live in assisted living facilities, and we found out while he was in there, unfortunately, it's a sad story where he was beaten, he was physically and mentally abused by the very staff that was there to help him, and it happened more and more as we transitioned to specific locations. And, now a lot of those people, they did get thrown in jail, fully prosecuted and everything. We have a great relationship with the Justice Department in downtown Buffalo, which is where we're from. So growing up, you can imagine that he was definitely tormented mentally going through that at such a young age. So, like I mentioned, after 18, a lot of these organizations, they drop off, and the families are kind of left to fend for themselves. So with my brother Sonny, he's very, very high functioning, but he's also very impressionable, right? So we lived in South Buffalo at the time, and it's not the best area, but he kind of wanted to be his own man. So he started going out, making random friends, and soon he became friends with the wrong kind of people, and I'm talking drug dealers and criminals and thieves, and he didn't tell us any of this stuff for the longest time, just because. And ultimately, in a nutshell, he started hanging out with them, and he started breaking the law. He was used as a drug mule by these drug dealers, and then he became addicted to some of the drugs. He was thrown in and out of jail, and then the cherry on top was when he was shot by a drunk corrections officer at, I think it was like 2 in the morning in the streets, trying to save the drug dealer's life. So that was the moment when all of us, myself and my father, we just decided, like, we can't sit back anymore. We got to do something about this, or else he's literally going to die.
Wow, that was a lot. I don't even know how to go further into that. That's huge. Let's go.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry about all of that your brother had to go through. Where is he? When did that happen? And where are you guys now? Like, when did that last happen? When he got shot?
Yeah, so that whole span of happened between 2012 to 2016, maybe even a little earlier, 2011, because I wasn't living at home at the start of it, and then I had to move home because my dad needed help. So when I was home, it's when it really started to take a turn for the worse, and I was going to practicing for going to med school, and I was completely focused on everything I was doing, so I really wasn't that much of a help. But when he did get shot, I remember I got the call right after a test, and the worst part of it is that my reaction was very subdued, and just my dad, he's like, hey, all right, I'm at the hospital, Sonny was shot, and I was just like, okay, what hospital? And that was my reaction, and now I look back at it 5 years later, it's like, that's pretty messed up that was my reaction, because we were kind of expecting something terrible to happen.
Yeah.
And so we formed Rock Autism, which is the nonprofit organization, and that was kind of on accident as well. So I had my album release show in 2017. It was July 1st, 2017, and Sonny was actually in jail at the time. So even though after he got shot, he was still hanging out with these people, which they're like, that shows you the degree that autism is so misunderstood, because even though somebody gets shot, he still didn't click in his brain. He was still hanging out with the same kind of people sometimes. So he was in jail because he was framed for something. And I spoke to my manager, Aaliyah, and my dad, and I was like, maybe we could do like a little fundraiser for autism, since Sonny's not here, kind of do it in his honor. So we did it, and then we raised our funds, and then later that week we had a conversation. My father was involved in nonprofit organizations for a long time, and we understand that when you donate money, you don't really have a say in where that money goes, right? It could go into the pockets of board members too. So we decided that we're going to do it on our own. And my father and I, we always wanted to have a music festival, right? So we decided to do a music festival before we had all of our programs and all of our partnerships. But fortunately, with our board, we are a 5-board-member organization. We're a very, very tight group, but everybody has been in entertainment or like the hospitality industry, very fast-paced industries that we all work in. So that's what we knew, concerts, entertaining, and that's what we did. So our festival happens every summer, typically in August, in a place called Ellicottville, New York. So we had about a whole year to plan for this festival. And leading up to that, we just did small events, one after another. Sometimes we'd raise $200, sometimes we'd raise $1,000, but probably 20 to 30, maybe even 40 events of just fundraising to make this thing happen. And we did. So our festival happened, actually the first year, it was September 1st, Labor Day weekend. And it went great. We ended up raising our funds because most festivals lose money on their first year. So we were successessl.
Congratulations. And what year was this? When was your first one?
It was September 1st, 2018.
Okay, great.
And it went great. So that sparked the program, which is our Rock Autism Multimedia Vocational Program, which teaches the basic fundamentals of music production, and film production using the software, right? We don't teach them to play instruments. We teach them how to make music in the software, because that's really where it's all going, right? And then with film, we teach them how to make short little clips on their phones, because everybody has a phone nowadays, and you can find free softwares out there if you want to upgrade. And at the end of the day, it's we hope that they can generate a craft to carve out a career path in the entertainment industry. And that was very successful right off the bat. Everybody saw what my dad and I already knew, because Sonny did this his entire life. He is an incredible musician, amazing drummer, makes great music, all by ear. He doesn't understand theory. So we thought, if Sonny can do this, we know other people can do it as well. So once that happened, everybody saw it. Eventually, floodgates were open, and we got partnership after partnership. And I'm talking like on a high level, like New Era, the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, really big companies started getting involved with us. And that blew up. And eventually we ended up partnering with the college. And now we are very established. We have our Rock Autism program, which is a college accredited course, that's in the making of where we're trying to get it there. And we have our music festival. We take the concept of what we do around the country. So we've done shows in New York City, Boston, Nashville, Austin, LA, and we're going to be coming to LA later this year as well. And now the next phase of our plan, we developed a TV series called Setlist, which is like an interpretation of our family's lives and music career, and we're grinding in the music industry trying to make it.
Cool. Wow. Okay, so that's amazing. So in like about 1 year's time, when you had the idea to do a music festival for a fundraising for autism, right? You didn't actually have the idea yet to create the school for entertainment. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. My dad, growing up, he was trying to look for this for Sonny, because there was no program that did all of this. When we would go to music programs, it was more like music therapy. Let's listen to music and talk about your feelings. Now, if you ever met my brother, he would say, "F that, I don't want to do that." And excuse my language, but that's how my brother talks, right?
Yeah.
He's so sick of that stuff. He likes hard rock, and he wants to make music.
Yeah.
On the side, there was absolutely nothing in Buffalo whatsoever. We couldn't find anything. So he never got exposed to it. He got exposed to it on his own by stealing my phone or my father's phone. Or Sonny eventually ended up like just garbage picking stuff, and he would come home with cameras and microphones, and he developed his own little studio out of garbage picked items. And to like a credit to him, it was actually very impressive what he was able to put together from just garbage picked items. And so with that, it just kind of happened because my father for 10, 15 years was trying to find this program. And he was really the kind of like what the program should be. And then I took it over with the actual like curriculum of what we're going to be teaching these students. And then eventually when we got our teachers to come in, we got their input, and we kind of all just went at it together with what this curriculum should be. And we're still developing it. Like every year it kind of gets better because we learn what not to do from the last year.
Yeah, that absolutely. That makes sense, because there's no way to know, right? Until you experience it and then you go, okay, this worked. This didn't work as well. Let's, and then you adjust, right? So that makes a lot of sense. Oh, that's really, really cool. Now that you're doing this and it's already successful, the music festival is successful, you have the Rock Autism curriculum that you're continuing to improve. You have teachers, you have students, you're continuing the music festival every year, you're traveling around, and now you came up with the idea, someone came up with the idea to create a TV show based on your family, based on growing up. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what happened was I've been working in film the last 5 years on and off when I wasn't touring. My cousin is a producer, so she called me out of the blue randomly one day, and it was a Netflix movie, and she said, "Hey, we need some people to just be PAs. Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah, I got let's do it. So I went there, and I've always loved movies, right? Who doesn't? So it was very fun and exciting, and I got to know a lot of great people in the Buffalo community and film. So one year after another, I kept on working on more and more movies, and I got to work on huge major motion pictures that came to Buffalo. And eventually, I ended up just coming. I wanted to write Sonny's story, so I wrote the film Sonny Boy, which is the actual true story of what happened to Sonny before we started Rock Autism, which was when he got shot and all the drugs and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So that story took me about, I'd say, 4 months to really polish, and then 6 months total before I actually, this is it, this is the story. So before COVID happened, we met with some investors, and they were in, and we were going to actually make the movie.
Nice.
So, right? And we were very excited because it was a big budget that we had to make this the right way, and we were already talking to Sunday and Tribeca Film Festival, and it was going to be a great, great story.
Yeah.
So then COVID happened, and obviously, everything shut down. So during that time, I was never really a series guy, but during COVID, I ended up watching so many things. And I just realized that you have longevity in a series to talk about so much. So one night, my dad and I, we live above and below each other. So he's in my band as well. Him and my brother will split the set on drums. Okay. So it's like this big family band that we have. And my father has always just been this rock star musician his entire life, right? So I went upstairs and I said, hey, Dad, do you watch any series? And he's like, no, I just stick to movies. I was like, okay, well, this doesn't help my argument right now, but I have an idea that maybe we could turn this into a series. And he's like, yeah, we totally could. So literally that night, I wrote the first episode. And I came up with everything. It all happened that night because inspiration struck. So the first episode is exciting, and it's all about this band. So the show is about this band led by these two brothers, Knox, which is myself, and Taz Winter, who is Sonny. Mm-hmm. And myself is the lead guitarist and the lead singer. Sonny is the drummer, and he has autism in the show. So you have these brothers that form this band, and the bass player is there. He's like Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Kramer from Seinfeld. That's his personality. And they're guided by the boy's washed-up rock star father, his name is Mick. Right?
Yes.
So the dad, if you picture, the dad is basically Jack Black in the show from School of Rock. Yeah. That's the type of personality this is. Yeah. And that's really who my father is. So we basically, we formed this alternate universe of ourselves with just changing our names. But it's really true to who we are. So, excuse me, in the first episode,
it's going to be so meta, because already I'm like, oh, that's super cool. And then already my brain's going, whoa, which one's reality and which one's fake? That's great. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's really funny because when I wrote the episode and I wrote the character bios, I had Sonny read his and I had my dad read his, and they're just like, this is not me at all. I'm like, oh, Dad, it's totally you. I point out everybody's flaws, but then when they both read my bio, they're like, yeah, that's totally you. I'm like, see? There's some hypocrite. Absurd. So, the first episode is all about the band gets an opportunity to open for this really well-known act at a very well-known music venue in the city, and that headlining band, they break up that day. So we think we have to lose the show, but Mick, our father, is like, hey, this happens in the music industry. You got to go convince them to give you the show. So my character has to go, and then I make a questionable deal with the bar manager.
Yeah.
And then you have to watch the rest of the episode to actually figure out what happens, because it's a doozy.
Nice. Now, have you recorded that already?
We have. So we filmed the pilot episode in November, and now we just finished wrapping with post-production. So the episode is about, we just sent it out to our mastering engineer who is in Nashville, a guy named Gentry Streeter, amazing. And he's just putting on the fine touches, and we're going to be premiering it actually in Los Angeles in March. So that's exciting. but we're also taking it across the country. We're going to be going to Nashville with it, Boston, New York City, Minneapolis. And what we do is we have a concert, and so we play, and then we bring in, one or two other acts, and it's a benefit for Rock Autism as well, and then we premiere the episode as well. So You're getting this touring TV show kind concept.
That is so cool. That's great. I love that idea so much. So and so then the festival is still for the Rock Autism fundraiser, but the TV show is its own little entity. It's not directly related, but it's cool because it provides a fun story, but also provides more awareness.
Actually, I didn't mention this. It is completely connected. Everything we do is streamlined together. So with TV show, Rock Autism is actually one of the production companies that helped put it on. And we did that because our goal with Rock Autism is to get our students employed on films. The problem with that was I've been working in film for 5 years. I know how toxic and stressful that can be, as you know, I'm sure all too well is. So when we met with the commissioner of film here in Buffalo, and he loved it. He's like, yes, we can definitely do this. But I was very blunt with him. I said, Tim, look, I've been yelled at so badly on film or on set for something I didn't even do. Like, they just yelled at me. I'm like, there is no way I would bring my students to that. I was like, the only way this can work is if we control everything that we do. So we form our own production company. We bring in our own people, and that's exactly what we did. Rock Autism oversaw the entire project with my own company, Sunmax Entertainment, and we had all of our students work on our project every day. We had about 2 to 5 students and they loved it. They got to hold the cameras, set up the lighting, learn. They got to say action. There's this one student that just kept on saying, he was the funniest thing in the world. We already rolled action, and mid-take, he's like, action! And it was so much fun, and it was a very humbling experience for the crew because they've never experienced anything like this in their lives, and they really enjoyed it. And it just gave them a different perspective on life because they got to be teachers for once with people that actually really appreciated being on set. It's part of their dream, So to answer your question, it is. Everything is streamlined for what we do. So wherever I am, Rock Autism is there, Setlist, vice versa. But we found out that we are one of the first groups or entities in the country doing what we're doing, employing our own students on our own film set, and we're paying them as well. So what we're doing is working.
Oh, I love that so much. I didn't know about any of this. Like, I knew a little bit, but I didn't know how. I love that, the production company, so that you make sure that the environment is supportive, because it can be stressful. And that's very cool. Love that. Well, we are coming up on time already. It's crazy. How can we follow you? How can we support you? Like, tell us, more.
Sure. So anybody can follow us. It's our website is rockautism.org. Our social media is the same thing. Rock Autism Music Festival for Facebook, Rock Autism on Instagram, and then Setlist TV is our Instagram and social media. My stuff is just Max Muscato. And like I said, everything is streamlined all together. Everything we do, it's all connected. So if you find one of us, you're going to find the other 2 entities as well. But for the future, for the rest of 2022, we are going to be taking this across the country in various cities. If you want us to come to your city, just DM us. But we have our music festival. It's August 20th, Saturday, August 20th, up in Ellicottville, New York, and we're going to be announcing the lineup probably sometime in May. But it's a great time. Ellicottville is considered the Aspen of the East. It's the ski town of New York State and one of the best ski resorts on the East Coast. So if you want to get away, it's a great weekend to come down and just party with us because Rock Autism takes over the entire weekend in the town.
Wow, that is awesome. That is so cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
And thank you for listening to the Actors Resource Podcast with me, Aaliyah Lay. I would love to hear from you, so email me, aaliyahklei@gmail.com, ALYAKLEI@gmail.com.